Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I hope you're well from wherever you're watching this channel. Now, when Deputy Chief Justice decided to appoint a panel to deal with Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment case, one that did not favor Gachagua, she never knew that at one particular time, the Court of Appeal, or rather the courts, would annul that decision of hers. Now, talking about annulling this decision, because we don't know whether she was acting in duress. We don't know. We don't know whether there was some malice in that empanelment. We don't know. But we can't say. We can't say that she did it in bad intention. We cannot make that conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. But honestly speaking, the moment the Court of Appeal delivered a landmark ruling that differed with the decision that the Deputy CJ took, that's the moment I realized that something was up. Now, where does this story lead us, ladies and gentlemen? It's a very shocking situation that Kenyans is facing. So you find that there are people saying that there's a possibility that we have two deputy presidents, because right now Rigathi Gachagua feels like a deputy president. But first, let us go through a newspaper headline. It's something that Daily Nation has posted here. And the Daily Nation says, Ruto stumbles from one crisis to another. One crisis to another. This is what the newspaper is saying, ladies and gentlemen. One crisis to the other. Now, I want us to explore this further because, honestly speaking, he has stumbled from one crisis to the other. Now he is confronted the reality that the current DP could be in office maybe through a legal procedure based on the court's decision. So before I explore this story further, ladies and gentlemen, kindly support this channel by liking this video. Subscribe to this channel if you've not subscribed before. And to our existing subscribers, I want to continue thanking you so much, because without you, this channel wouldn't have grown. So the big question now, because we know that Ruto has indeed stumbled from one crisis to the other. For those of you who followed the statements coming from the former DP, Rigathi Gachagua, and Rigathi Gachagua was very bold. And in fact, for the first time, I've realized that during the nomination of the person who's going to be a flag bearer for the opposition, kutakuwa na shida kubwa sana, especially after the statement that came from DP Rigathi. I don't think Rigathi Gachagua is going to allow someone else to vie against William Ruto. He's based on his statements. He looks at this as the perfect opportunity for him to dethrone the president. I mean, for those of you who followed that statement, that is already another crisis. Because let's just look at it from this angle. If Rigathi decides to vie, he has decided to now vie. He's now going to vie for presidency. You know what's going to happen? It will give William Ruto a lot of pressure. Because one thing that we know is that Mount Kenya hit and an air. Because the math will not add up if at all Mount Kenya does not get a deputy president. They have been used to deputy president, deputy president, or president. Now they are going to confront a scenario where they don't have a deputy president in the opposition, but they have a deputy president in William Ruto's camp. You know, that is a very bizarre reality which they will have to think about carefully. So for that to be neutralized, I think people like Kalonzo Musyoka, they will be forced to cede ground and allow Rigathi Gachagua to go toe-to-toe with the president. That is the only safest way if they are to beat William Ruto easily. But the big question is, will Kisii allow it? Will Kambas allow it? They will not, of course, allow it, because Kisii believe that Matiang'i is the right person, and the Kambas believe that Kalonzo Musyoka is the right person, and this is the right time for Kalonzo Musyoka to now clinch this presidency. But will they allow Rigathi Gachagua to be the person to be the flag bearer? Again, the biggest question again here, because I've seen on X a growing conversation that people in Mount Kenya are saying that itakuwaje tupeane kura zote alafu atupati kitu, hata sisi tuko tu. So that is another realization that is coming on board. So when the newspaper like Daily Nation says Ruto stumbles from one crisis to the other, I think the Daily newspaper could have looked at this matter from the other side of the coin. One thing that we must agree on is that if the courts, the Supreme Court, again, because there's going to be an appeal, the Supreme Court, because now Court of Appeal has handled this matter, then it end up for Supreme Court. So Supreme Court ita exhaust iseme kwamba empanelment ilikuwa wrong ama empanelment ilikuwa right. Ikisema ilikuwa wrong, then hii story inaregea kwa ile wakati Rigathi Gachagua kisikizwa. So atasikizwa tena, asikizwe tena, ipatikane kwamba kweli utaratibu haukufuatiziwa. Na ikiwa utaratibu haukufuatiziwa, because I remember kuna wakati Githu Muigai, the former AG, while in court, alisema kwamba the presidency cannot be without a deputy president. That will be a crisis. It must have someone. So that someone awekwe tu, amalize tu, aanze tu kasapati yake, but kesi ikiwa italemea serikali ionekane kwamba walifanya makosa, then they can always reverse it. So reversing it means Rigathi Gachagua going back to his position of a deputy president. You see, that is what it means by reversing it. Another question is, will Rigathi accept that position? I mean, because Ruto right now can decide that, okay, fine, now that the pressure imemount sana, let me bring Rigathi Gachagua back, alafu nitulize ile joto ambalo limenilemea, joto ambalo limenilemea, pressure ni nyingi sana. Ili nitulize lazima nimregeshe Rigathi. Nikishamregesha Rigathi, najua opposition itakuwa imekaa shagala bagala, haitakuwa na mwelekeo. Na kwa sababu haitakuwa na mwelekeo, itajikuta kwamba haiwezi perform. But again, Ruto knows very well that he can make that move. Na Rigathi aseme, I'm not interested. What I'm interested in, you also must go. Because Rigathi will look at this matter politically. Aone kwamba I will go back. For example, I'm allowed to go back. I'll be forced to now tell the public again that I was lying to you. So that's the main reason why Rigathi will not accept that position if he is recalled. So this is a major crisis, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to put William Ruto in a very tricky position. Him with the deputy president, whom the courts have said is not legally allowed by the constitution. The person who is allowed by the constitution, yuko kwa trenches, yuko kando kabisa. Ni Rigathi Gachagua, but amekataa kurudi. So kwa sababu amekataa kurudi, Rigathi Gachagua will be earning sympathy votes. So that is why the opposition can decide that ni Rigathi na Ruto, alafu Kalonzo awe deputy, Matiang'i awe prime cabinet secretary, na iwe hivyo. Will the Kisii allow that arrangement? So ladies and gentlemen, just go below on the comment section and tell us whether you think Deputy CJ, two things. Do you think Deputy CJ alidanganywa? Deputy Chief Justice Philomena MWILU, do you think alidanganywa akaform ile panel illegally? And two, do you think Martha Koome knew that there was going to be a constitutional disorder like the one that the courts have pronounced to make her distance herself from this impeachment? You know? Three, do you think Rigathi Gachagua, let's assume in the worst case scenario, that courts decide that Rigathi ndio the deputy president ambaye anatambulika na Wakenya, do you think Rigathi is going to accept that position? And should he accept the position? Just go below in the comment section and you can offer reaction on those three questions. So perhaps if you're watching this video and you've not subscribed, take 1 second and subscribe, like this video. Until you catch up again, stay safe and stay blessed.